Greetings, everyone. This is Dr. Ray Lindley. I'm really excited to have the workshop that we're doing today. It's very up to date and very modern, and I think it's very important for educators to understand the issues that are involved with the internet and the options that are available uh, technologically. These are exciting days for Array Global. We've just been receiving school applications, and we're excited that we're getting the excitement that we are in schools in other countries. So I see there are several countries represented here today, so we welcome you. And I want to turn this over to Dr. Jacob Francom. Dr. Jake is now the executive director for Array Global, and he will give a few announcements and introduce our guest for the day.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. It's great to be with everyone on this Saturday and hope all is well and safe where you are at. Our thoughts and prayers are in those areas that are affected currently. And just grateful that everyone is here to learn and grow on their own. And some schools require their teachers to participate, but we're just glad that people are willing to continue to develop as educators to improve what goes on in their classroom and provide a quality education for each one of their students in their classrooms. We have an exciting presentation today, but before we get into that, just a few different announcements. We currently have the Stella Science Fair that's taking place. So please make sure that you get your students involved in this free online science fair. This is the 6th year in a row that we have done it. So we encourage you to get onto our website, arrayglobal.org, and look at our academic contest. That is the most popular academic contest that we have that takes place. And students from kindergarten to grade 12 can participate. And we want them to really come up with some great activities and projects that they can show their intelligence, their work, and the great things that you are doing as a teacher in your classroom. So again, it's kindergarten to grade 12, so even your kindergartners can get involved. And they often do a really, really good job, but we're often impressed. There are cash prizes and there are certificates that are provided for each one of the students. So we encourage you, again, get onto our website and check that out. Another great activity that we have that's going on is called Me and My Community. Again, this is the 6th year in a row that we're doing this, and we recognize students who go and do community service in their community, in their area, and give back to their communities because we recognize that students need to not only learn how to read and write, but they need to learn specific virtues and learn how to be part of their community and give back, show empathy, and provide service to those that are around them. That's what helps them be good people, good citizens, and future good mothers and fathers. So please get onto our website. It's called Me and My Community. If you ever have any questions about any of our services that we provide, please let us know. We will be traveling around and doing accreditation visits next month. We have several visits in the United States. We'll also be in Central Asia, and so we plan on visiting several schools while we're there. But if you have any schools or your school is interested in learning about our accreditation process, please let us know. We'd be excited and happy to work with you during that time. A few different things also about certificates for this workshop, because this is a continual question as we are going through through workshops. The workshop at the very end, after Dr. Ray's words of wisdom, and we try to finish that at the end of the hour, he will present a few words of wisdom for us. And then after that, we will put a link in the chat and we will announce it several times. And you will be able to fill out that survey. And that survey is how we take attendance. And with that, with your email address and your name, we will put that onto a certificate and we will email that out. And we typically do that on Tuesday night our time, that could be Wednesday in some of the places in the Middle East or in Central Asia. So look for it by the middle of the week. If you haven't received it by that time, please let us know. And along with certificates, we will not give you a certificate unless you write something actual that you've learned that you can input into your classroom on Monday or on Sunday, that for those of you who start school on Sunday, the first day of the week for you. We want you to take notes during the workshops. We want this to be impactful. We don't want you just to be doing this workshop so you can get a certificate. But please write down three different things that you have learned that you can immediately implement into your classroom or into your process or into your school. Because again, this is supposed to be impactful to you as an educator. Another thing, if you have questions, Dr. Ray and I and Dr. Francom, Dr. Joe, I will introduce here in a second. We want to see your questions throughout the workshop. So please put your questions in the chat and we'll be monitoring that. Dr. Joe probably won't be able to be monitoring that, but Dr. Ray and I will be monitoring that. And we will stop if we see some good questions and be able to address those at that time. There will also be time at the end of the workshop to ask questions as people are filling out the survey. So please make sure that you're interactive, you're paying attention, you're taking notes, post questions in the chat, and just really, really pleased to see everyone here. We have people on our Facebook page, we have a lot of people on our Zoom page, and so please take this time to really learn and grow. And again, just welcome to everyone. So today I have the opportunity of introducing our presenter. He has the same last name as me, and I think some of you commented he's probably a brother of mine. He is. I have several brothers. I have five brothers. He's one of my older brothers. And he is the department chair and professor of computer science at Utah Tech University. He specializes in teaching and mentoring students in the computing field. He's went through teacher education. Actually, he and I went through the same university for teacher education years and years ago. And so we're excited to have him. He's currently, like I said, the department chair and professor of computer science. And you can check out Utah Tech University, a beautiful, beautiful place. It probably looks a lot like parts of the Middle East where some of you may be. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Dr. Joe and he'll share his screen and we'll get going from there. But if you want to do any more of an introduction, Dr. Joe, you're welcome to do that.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate the invite here. Appreciate the opportunity to come visit with you. Let me see if I can share my screen, and I hope that that works okay. Let's just. You hear me okay?
Yep, and we can see it. You can make it full screen too if you
Oh,
want.
oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, thanks. I'm excited to be with you today. I think whether we are K through 12 educators or higher education professionals, we all have the same questions in my mind. AI has come along over the last few years, and it has radically transformed what what we thought possible, what we're doing. I mean, as educators, one of my main concerns is how do I assess student knowledge with the advent of AI? Because they can use AI, students can use AI and complete, a lot of their homework. You can take pictures of math problems. AI will try to help you solve it. You have your essays and AI will write your essays. So I think it's a question for all of us. How do we react? How do we harness these AI tools and utilize them for our advantage? So, I think I've been in higher education now for 25 years teaching, and this new concept of AI is probably the most transformative thing, definitely the most transformative thing that I've come across in my 25 years. But I remember when the internet came out, in the 90s, and that was very transformative as well. And I think we had the same questions back then, is how do we use the internet? How do we use it in our teaching? How do we, you know, uh, make use of these technologies? So I think it's a very timely topic, and I'm thankful to be here with you. So I want to just focus on how we can use AI as our teaching assistant. How can we have it help us in what we do? Now, my list, the stuff I'm going to show you is not going to be comprehensive, but a smattering of a few tools that I'm aware of. And I think it'd be great if you threw into the chat some of the tools, that you might be aware of to share with your colleagues as I go through this presentation as well. So certainly the first thing we have to look at is prompt engineering. I mean, I think probably all of us have been on, ChatGPT or Gemini or some other AI agent. Hopefully, we've explored it at least, and if not, then this this presentation will hopefully enlighten you a little bit. But prompt engineering is, being able to present what we want to the AI correctly, so that it will give us something useful. So again, you can think of it as learning to speak the AI's language. The difference between a vague request and a powerful targeted output. So some of the things that I've outlined in this diagram to have an effective prompt to get the results that you really want out of the AI tool, you need to set the role. Now, I'm going to give you some examples in a subsequent slide, but let's just identify. So set the role, specify the task, tell the AI exactly what you want done, set the constraints for the AI, and then refine and iterate. So applying the framework transforms how AI responds, and hopefully it will give us something that we can utilize. Now, as we go through this demonstration today, one thing that if you've used AI at all, you'll know that it doesn't always do exactly what you think it's going to do. So even during this presentation, if it doesn't do exactly what I think it's going to do, that's the way it's designed. So let's go here. Oh, sorry. So again, here's a few examples that focus on those four concepts that I defined in the previous slide. So um, here's an example, a weak example. What are the key findings of recent climate research? Now, AI will respond, AI will give us an answer, but a better prompt would be using only the research paper I've pasted below, summarize the three most important findings. If you're unsure about something, say so rather than guessing. One thing that I hate about AI, or that we all have to learn about AI, is it lies. It just flat out makes stuff up. I know several times I've used AI and tried to write code, and it says, "Oh yeah, you can do this, no problem." And then 2 hours later, finally it says, "You can't do this. It's not going to work." And I was like, "Well, I didn't think it was going to work, but anyway." So you have to be careful. Here's another example. So specifying the role and constraints. Again, very vague. Write a lesson plan about photosynthesis. A stronger prompt would be act as a standards aligned lesson planner for a 10th grade biology class. Create a 50-minute lesson on photosynthesis that includes a hook activity, direct instruction, and formative assessment, aligned to whatever standards that you're trying to align with. That will give you a much more tailored output. Now, if you have, and I know some of you are in rooms where you might not have your own computer, but if you have your own computer, type in some of these as we're going along. I might flip over to ChatGPT in just a second and just do a quick demo. But request structured output. Give me a discussion questions for this chapter. Okay, that's pretty vague. Generate 5 discussion questions for Chapter 3 of The Great Gatsby, a novel here in the U.S. Format them as a numbered list with Bloom's taxonomy level labeled next to each question. So Bloom's taxonomy, maybe much of you are familiar with that, but anyway, we don't need to go into that. And then a final thing that we can talk about is ground with RAG. RAG is retrieval augmented generation, which just means that, hey, I've provided the AI with additional um, um, documents or like course materials that I want it to use the course materials that I've created as it's answering my questions. So here's an example. Instead of help students understand the rubric, we could say using the rubric I've uploaded, create a student-friendly FAQ that explains each criterion in plain language. Base your answers only on the rubric provided. Do not add criteria that aren't listed. So, oops, I don't know why that showed up twice, but uh, oh, it does. I'm sorry. Again, I don't know that we have to spend a lot of time here, but design your prompts that don't create extra work. You need to make sure that AI is very well grounded in what you want it to do so that it won't go off the rails. So it'll be focused and constrained. You can again request your output that you want, tell it you want markdown tables or numbered lists or specific formats and retrieval augmented generation. So um, now I'm questioning if I have the most current set of slides, but we'll continue. So I want to just show if you have, let's go over to ChatGPT for a second. Sorry, let's see if I
And
can
Joe, in the
stop
chat, there were
that.
quite a few different comments about different tools that are used for
Oh, great.
AI. And maybe you know some of them. Diffit, Gemini,
Hmm.
TalkPal, Elsa Speak,
Yep,
TeachFX. And this is good because some of these I hadn't heard of. And Copilot, of course.
yep.
Gamma is another one. Canva, that's a really popular one, especially for educators. Pi for PowerPoint. Let's see. Claude. I've heard of Claude. Lovable. Magic School. I haven't heard of Magic School. I'm gonna have to check that one out. So yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. Crayon. Yeah, and Gamma, yeah. Dal for pictures. Yeah, Fettis, we need, it sounds like he's quite an expert. He has a lot of different AI tools that he utilizes. So yeah, Dola, Chalky, Aubrey, right? So yeah, there's a lot of different tools that people are utilizing. That's great to hear. I don't know if you have any thoughts or opinions on any specific, but what I find with AI is you know which ones are really good at some things, and you know some that are really good at others. Like the augmentation that you're talking about of inputting documents. I'll input a document and say, okay, evaluate all three of these different quotes and give me the best option, the best one, the best price, and those kind of things as a school administrator. And then ChatGPT, it's always really good to help write some different responses to different things. So yeah, I think knowing the different tools and using those as in your quiver for what's going to work best depending on the topic, I think that's important.
Yeah, and there's so many tools out there. A lot of them uh, are pretty specific, like use this tool to generate images, or use this tool to generate quizzes. Or I'm going to show you Gamma because I love that one. Use this tool to generate slides or presentations. In fact, that's what I used to generate this presentation I'm showing you today. I fed it a set of prompts. I said this is kind of the what I want to present, and it generated an initial outline. And then I went through and kind of modified and tweaked things the way that I wanted. So it saved me a ton of time. So I thought it was great. Another one, and again, we don't have time to go into everything, but I have there's AI music generation, and one day in class, I thought, I want to teach students this topic, but just to introduce it, I'm going to generate a song about it. So I went to AI. I said, Jen, here's the topic that I want, and it generated some lyrics. I went and threw it into the AI music generator, and it was really good. I mean, the song was really good, and oh wow! So it was just a fun thing to get students engaged, I think. So again, we don't need to spend a ton of time here, but let's just give you a brief. So here's ChatGPT. I could say, give me, I don't know, 10 true false questions about um, AI tools. I don't know. We'll just so it's probably it's probably kind of vague, but it kind of starts. It's very useful. Um, it starts. So if I wanted to ground that a little bit better, I could always add some. Sorry, I hit this little thing on the bottom. I could add, something about my course. Like if I was um, let's see, I don't know that I have it here, but uh, let's just say that this is just another class that I'm teaching, but based on the uploaded document, give me five true false questions. Now, I've kind of already derailed the AI because it's in a totally separate domain than what we're talking about right now. Um, but I just wanted to see that's an example of retrieval augmented generation. So, for example, I might throw my syllabus in there and say, or all my course materials. In fact, I might throw all my course materials as I'm preparing to give a final or as I'm preparing to give a midterm, and I could say, give me a review or a study guide. And students are doing this too, but I think we need to know how to do that so that we can present it to our students. Anyway, I won't spend a ton of time here, but ChatGPT, definitely, I probably hang out here quite a bit doing various things. So let me come back here and
Do you find,
so
Joe, that
again,
it's
go ahead.
the danger is that people will just use AI and then not really review the content very well and just say, okay, here's the 10 true false questions, and then just throw it at their students without really reviewing it and making sure that it aligns with what they're actually teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, AI, it's what's they use the word probabilistic. I mean, if I ask it to generate 10 more, or if all of us were to go in and feed it the exact same prompt, it's going to do different things every time. So you have to be very careful that you review and make sure that it's actually creating the stuff that you want and that it's creating it correctly. Yeah, because a lot of times it'll lie or it won't do things as correct as you think they should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important, making sure that you're reviewing it, especially like if you have it write an email or a letter that you go through it and you're reviewing it and you're using it as a tool. It's not thinking for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so again, here's a couple applications that you could use in your classrooms. You're generating quizzes or assessments. I kind of showed you that. Again, you could use ChatGPT. There's a lot of other tools. You could copy and paste. I'm sure there's other tools that will generate the correct format for you to import it into your learning management system. Um, or maybe there's probably even current learning management systems that have an AI tool built in that will, I'm sure there must be, that will put it into Canvas or Blackboard or Moodle or whatever learning management system that you have. Research summaries. Again, I don't know how much you do this at the K-12 level. Probably you probably have them write some reports there in 11th and 12th grade, but there's a lot of great AI tools that will find research papers for you, that will help summarize research papers, that will help cite those research papers correctly. Saves a lot of time. Lesson plan design, again, any of these things, alternative explanations. So a lot of times, I was trying to there was a physics problem I was trying to understand a week or two ago, and I don't have a physics background. So I told AI, hey, dumb it down as if you were talking to an eighth grader. And it did a good job. And I think I understood it a little bit more. So these are all great use cases for AI. Sorry, I don't know why it's not going. So as I just dive deep for just a second in there, here's some ideas. As you're again, I'm focusing on prompt engineering still, focusing on your prompts. So as you're creating these quizzes and assessments, which I didn't do very well in the prompt I just wrote, but specify the grade level, state the subject matter, indicate your Bloom's taxonomy level, whether it's I want them to synthesize or apply or analyze, state how many you want, set the context and tone. So maybe I can pause for just a minute there and see how well you do. So open up your ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever AI tool you use and see if you can create something specific to your course. I'll pause for 1 minute as you do that. And then in the chat, maybe you can reflect how did it work for you? Did you learn anything? All right, I'll move to the next one.
I think
Research
that
summary. Go ahead.
there might be some different examples out there that people are going to post.
Okay, I'll
I
give
know
them
when
a
I did it, I asked for Newton's three laws of motion to come up with some different activities, and it came up with a different activity for each law of motion. And then I kind of honed it in and said, for the third law of motion, what is something that like a high school ninth grader could do? And it came up with some really, really good ideas. Active. And I said specifically, I want the students up and out of their seats too. And I want them
yeah.
moving around and practicing and doing something. So, yeah, it comes up with a lot of different good ideas. You don't have to do everything, but I think there were some really neat things that could be utilized. Again, a tool, kind of almost as a thought partner to generate different ideas.
Anything else pop up in the chat?
Yeah, we have some that have done a screenshot and it's coming up with a lot of different things, with a lot of different ideas. But it sounds like a lot of people are getting some good thoughts and ideas.
Good. Yeah, I encourage you to, and I'm learning too. I mean, I don't think any of us have a harness on these AI capabilities yet. I think I'm learning every day. Like, oh, if I tweak it this way, this will work. Or I learn that if I have too much content, if I have too much information in one chat, that's probably worth talking about. Like, um, AI is not good. Like if I was generating questions for biology, what did you say, Jake? What was yours?
Physics.
Physics. So you were doing physics and what was it? The law of motion or something?
Yeah, the Newton's three laws of motion. Yeah.
And then if you were to like subsequently ask it for something in physics but totally unrelated to the three laws of motion, it does not do a good job of like once this context window gets so big, AI has a difficult time in figuring out where it's at. So that's when it starts hallucinating, and that's when it starts having problems. So I would start a new chat if it's a different question.
Do
Dr.
you
Joe,
have any other?
there's a
Oh, go ahead.
question here that
Yeah.
that I think it might be worth just spending a second with, and it's from it involves teaching at different levels. How can you ask the question or whatever the subject is to work at teaching at different levels all in the same classroom?
That's a great question. I think you could have it. I mean, we could go try. Let's see here. So I would say in my prompt, I would say, hey, I have many different levels in this of understanding in my classroom. Could you give me three different activities that I could utilize in my classroom? Maybe one activity for those that are struggling to learn, those that are at the middle level, and then those that are on the higher end. Give me, so I think you can try to tailor your AI to say that I have these different levels in my class. Give me give me activities that might be suitable for each. That's what I would try. Again, it could be hit and miss. You might not always hit the target at every time, but like Jake was saying, it can definitely give you some ideas.
Well, it was Hoda who asked the question, and then I think differentiation that Ernest mentioned. I think asking for differentiation does help somewhat in that quest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another question, Joe, was from Darren. Asks, what mistakes should teachers avoid when using AI? And you kind of hit on don't give it so much that it just bogs it down and gets confusing. are there any other kind of tips and tricks?
You know, um, I don't know if this is exactly what the question is asking, but I think that, back in the days when the internet came out, there was a lot of uh, trying to figure out how to utilize it in the classroom. And same thing with AI. And I heard details from a conference the other day that even at the higher education level, there's some education institutions that are embracing AI. There are some education institutions that are banning AI use outright. And then
Wow.
there's some that are in the middle. So personally, my personal thoughts are AI is here to stay. Students are going to be using it whether we want them to or not. So my thoughts are let's try to train them in appropriate use, and maybe that's different than this particular presentation today, because we're trying to see how faculty or how teachers can use it. But I think that we also need to train our students on it on how to appropriately use it so that they can to augment the learning process. Is that the question kind of that was there?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's some other tips and tricks also for teachers that utilize AI. I think you have to be careful not to use identifiable information, not put people's
Yep.
names in there because that all of that gets digested into the AI web of information. So I think I'd be cautious there. But yeah, I think you're right. When I worked with it and I use it a lot, is I just try to be very succinct with the
Yep.
prompts and then refine it from there. There is another comment from Mr. Tony, and maybe you could talk about this a little bit more, Dr. Joe, is about English as a second language and how
Hmm.
AI can really help teachers that teach English as a second language, which is probably the majority of people who are here
Oh, wow.
teaching those that English is not their primary language. Do you see any tips and tricks?
I definitely see that as far as content generation, it's going to speed up your workflows a ton because I assume that, certainly as you're teaching ESL, you want to make sure that, as you're generating content in English or whatever and teaching materials that help you teach English, you can have AI, okay, evaluate the tone of this that I've written, or evaluate my grammar, or evaluate these materials, and I think it can help you again generate the materials correctly. I'll put quotes around that correctly and more quickly. So again, I don't know specifically because I don't teach that ESL, but I think the work of translation is going to be simplified.
Yeah, and that might be a prompt that people can respond to here in the chat too, if you have thoughts and ideas. Because I think collectively, I mean, there are a lot of experts here that teach English as a second language. So I think it's important for you to give some thoughts and ideas of how people what are some strategies that teachers are utilizing. No, that's good.
All right, I'm going to continue on a little bit. Again, I don't think we need to do go go to Chat GPT for each one of these, but I'll just briefly again the research summaries that you might have your students look at in some of these higher grade levels. You want to be able to simplify being able to get through these academic papers and research documents, maybe, or even maybe you're just giving them some other documents, your lesson plan or your slides or something, and you want to just be able to distill that down, or they want to be able to distill it down for them. So again, in this prompts, you can again specify the audience level. Oh, I'm doing this for high school or university students. Generate a summary for this. Tell it exactly what you want, a concise one paragraph summary, bullet points, or a more detailed overview. Tell it to focus on certain things, choose your output format, set the context and purpose. So summarize for a 10th grade history class, focusing on historical impacts. So again, hopefully you're getting the ideas. We need to craft our prompt appropriately, but we don't always land at the perfect prompt on the initial prompt. You can then refine it, tell AI to stop what it's doing, or if it doesn't generate what it does that you want the first time, you can iterate and add some detail and refine that. Lesson plans. I'm sure we're all creating lesson plans, but we've kind of already touched on that. Like, Jacob was saying, hey, give me some activities. Um, But again, specificity, is that the word? So clearly state what grade level, define what learning objectives you have. Students will be able to do this by the end. Set the duration. I want a 50-minute lesson plan. I want an intro, I want an activity, and I want a closing. Um, and then suggest some activity types and include standards alignment. So again, I think we've touched on a few of those. I don't know if there was anything in particular you wanted to talk about, and alternative explanations as well. Again, I think we focused on that a little bit. So clearly state, I want the water cycle or Newton's third law, or describe what students struggle at. Students struggle with this idea. Try to explain it better for them. Um, anyway, so those that kind of goes back to those four topics that we talked about for prompt engineering. But any thoughts on prompt engineering or questions in the chat before we kind of move over and look at some other tools?
Yeah, I think there was a question in the chat about dependency on AI. Have you heard anything about it being unhealthy for teachers or professionals to use, that it takes away some of the creativity?
I haven't heard that in particular, but I can see, what maybe the question is, what is our role as educators as AI is coming into focus? Because honestly, AI can do a lot of the things that we previously have done. So we have to really figure out what our role is. And I don't think our role is going to go away, but I think our role as educators is probably going to change. Maybe we don't need to focus so much on content creation, but we will need to focus more on individual student um, mentoring and interaction. As an example, so I teach programming, and I've noticed that AI can generate computer programming code very easily, and it does a pretty good job of it, and it will arrive to the correct solution. But again, as we go back to assessing, as an AI originally started off, I just kind of was like, okay, well, they're probably using AI. I'm not sure how well they understand it. But the other day, I conducted what we call a code review, where I sat down with every student. I had them open up their code. I had them walk me through different scenarios, and I could tell um, who understood concepts and who didn't. So again, I think the AI, and I encourage them. I say you can use AI all that you want, but you need to understand everything that it does, especially as they're programming. So again, I think our role is going to uh, change a little bit, and we're probably going to have to spend a little bit more time on seeing if students really understand. Maybe not. Maybe it's not so much on teaching. It's maybe more on assessing and mentoring. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if that's 100% correct, but that's what I think.
What about with like assignments? I mean, you talked about coding. Will this take away the ability for students to learn code? And this goes back to someone's specific question about math. Because, like you
Ah,
said, someone can take a picture of a mathematics problem
yeah.
and it will solve it for them. And then it takes away the ability for them to like think through the steps to solve that. And I think that is probably related to the coding. If we take
Yeah.
away those tools from people, how is that going to really help them be understand the different components that we need them to understand?
Yeah, and I think that the issue is, and again, maybe again, higher education is a little slightly different than K-12 because higher ed, we're training them to get out in the workforce. And in the workforce, they're definitely going to be using AI. Everyone uses AI in the
Mhm.
workforce. So we have to understand that. Now at the K-12 level, you're not really training for the workforce. You're just training them for maybe advanced education and making sure that they understand problem solving and critical thinking and that sort of thing. So, again, it's that's going to be hard. I don't know how you do it. Other than, again, maybe this is my idea with math. Maybe you sit down with every student for 5 minutes and say, "Here's a problem. Show me how you're going to solve it, or let me watch you solve it." And then you can. There's no faking right there. If and say you're solving this on paper, show me, and then that assessment really helps filter out who understands and who doesn't.
Yeah, that's good. And I think Mr. Crawford mentioned this in the comments too, that universities and high schools are going back to oral exams
Mm-hmm.
and paper and pencil exams. And I know of schools that are going right into everything has to be handwritten and it has to be done right there at the school without a computer there, so people can still maintain that knowledge and that skill of writing.
Yep. And demonstrate that they can do it without AI. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. So and again, there's a lot of like I said at the beginning, everyone's navigating this territory. I don't know that anyone solved it to figure out what's the best way or the most correct way of doing it. But that's why we have these workshops. Let's just share ideas and figure out and see what sticks for our classroom.
Yeah. One other question that Ernest had is, are there good AI detectors to determine what students may be utilizing that for writing, or is there Turnitin? I know that was popular back in the day.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of writing stuff, but I did had that loaded up here. So I know
Oh,
Turnitin is a popular one. From what I've and again, I don't know how to answer it. Is there any great tools at doing this? There's okay tools, but I don't think any of them are foolproof. Because sometimes they will, what's the word, false positives or um, so that they flag something as being AI generated and it's not. Or the other way around where they don't flag it and it was AI generated. So yeah, again, I don't know. I don't use that tool myself particularly. So I don't know if anyone in the chat has better answer for that. Oh,
not yet, but we can monitor
Grammarly.
that. Yeah.
So let me there's two or three things I wanted to show real quick. So Grammarly was another one. Again, these are all you can get in with your Google account. These are free things, but I could let's say that I generated a document and here's my AI over here. I can just have it insert some demo text here. But I thought it was interesting that, students could theoretically use this or, yeah. And, obviously we've had grammar checker for a long time, but these AI things will show not only grammar, but they'll show, different ways of writing things. Um, Okay, this is you can do this. So again, this is not too exciting to me because that's been around. Word will do a lot of that for you, but you can have it in AI. It's just a prompt here. I can say, well, I don't really like the way I've written the third paragraph. Can you flesh it out a little bit for me, or can you add some more details there? Again, that's not the most exciting thing, but um, AI writing assistance. Now, I left this mistake on my slide just to see if you'd catch it. So this was written by AI. What does that mean? AI writing a source assistant. So again, AI does not, I saw that and on my slides, I'm going to leave it there.
That's
AI,
good.
this is not infallible. It generated all these images for me, but anyway, and I don't know what that boost, I don't know what that is. So you have to watch it. You got to be careful of what it's doing. Okay, sorry, I know we only have a few more minutes, but the idea is to be empowered. I think any of these AI tools. Um, a couple other ones. Let me just show you. So I kind of did that one. Grade scope. Again, I just randomly searched out a few tools. I thought this one was interesting. I haven't used it, but basically you can, if you're doing paper assignments, you can scan these papers in, and then this grade scope will like auto grade the printed materials for you according to a particular rubric using AI, that sort of thing. I thought, oh, that might be interesting. Another example of AI, real quick. Here I am in my email, but you can have integrated AI assistants. A lot of us have Gemini or Copilot up here, but I can, if I have an email to speed up my workflows, I can click on, this, and I can say, summarize the email or, um, maybe something like write a helpful but concise reply. And I probably should even say, um, clarify what APIs are. That's what and so forth and so on. I can add some more to that. But if we're talking about speeding up our workflows, if we're doing a lot of email every day, that might be useful. And it drafts a response, and then I could copy and paste that in and reply. So that's what they would call, if I back up a little bit, an integrated assistant. So you see those in Word, you see them in email. Those can speed up our workflows. We saw that. I did want to show you Gamma because that's how I generated the slides today. So, and again, this has free usage. I think it'll generate 10 slides for free for you. But just as an example, I can generate from a prompt. I want to do, yeah, 10 cards. Sure. Maybe I paste in a prompt. Um, I want a slide deck on this is some technology I'm teaching. This is a poor prompt. I should give it a lot more information than that. Um, and I didn't, but fine. Okay, I can go through it. I can say, oh yeah, 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 that works great. But it also, I thought there was a prompt here. Let me try this again. Yeah. Well, there was a way, it's generating my slides here for me, but there was a way for me to customize what the theme was, what anyway, I could have edited any of those, but this speeds up my time a lot. So if you could just paste in like um your lesson plan for the day, it could create these slides for you and speed up your day. The last one I wanted to show you, I thought was interesting if I speed up my slides here. A personalized AI course assistant. Build an AI that knows your course. And there's other tools. Using tools like Poe, you can create a course-specific chatbot trained on your materials. Maybe you've uploaded your syllabus, your reading, your rubrics, that sort of thing. So here's Poe. I can click on create. I'm going to create again. I haven't played with like image or video generation, but let's say that I have this prompt bot, and okay, let's just do uh, AI as my TA. This is number two. And this bot will answer questions. That's not even the prompt. And you can specify what LLM model you're using, all these different AI engines, fine. I'll just leave it there. So now I can specify something like, in fact, I'll just go back and edit my earlier one so I don't have to show. Let's see here. If I can find it. I think it was this one. And if I click again, I can show you how I generated it. So I said, you're an instructor interacting with students at the end of a workshop. You will always respond in a professional manner. You'll quiz the users on 3 questions related to the uploaded content, and at the end, respond with a score. So I uploaded the slide deck that I just showed you, and I'm going to see if you guys understand everything. So I say publish, and I'm going to invite you guys to the chat. Let's see here if I copied that correctly. So again, we might crash this. I haven't tried it with this many people, but see if you can go in, those of you that can, click on that and I'll demo it while I pasted it in the chat, but I could come down here, sorry, and I could say, okay, go. I don't know why it's taking a while. So here's my first question. And so it goes over the slides that I uploaded. Okay, prompt engineering. Yeah, that sounds correct. So I can true. I don't know why it's saying get a reply every time. Maybe I have to pay some tokens or anything, but it'll evaluate. Oh, we're all doing this at the same time. I didn't realize we're all in the same chat. I thought we'd have our own unique chats. So,
That's neat.
yeah. So that might be
And
something you share with
is
you.
this free? Is Poe free?
Yeah, this one is free. I'm sure there's some constraints on it, like I don't, how many users there's a paid model, and I don't know what you get with the paid model. So I'll let you do that for a moment. Again, I kind of did it. The last thing I'll mention, and I think Jacob touched on it as well, is ethical considerations and academic integrity. Now, you have to be careful, at least, I mean, in the US, we need to be careful about inputting private protected information into any of these chats. So I can't paste like student names and addresses and stuff like that into these AI bots because they'll retain that information and they'll start training on it. Um, I still have a hard time, design assessments that leverage AI rather than circumvent it. So I have a lot of assignments where, honestly, programming, they could take the assignment description, paste it into AI. AI will generate the solution for them. So that's, something that I have to figure out, okay, well, how do I deal with that? How do I make sure I'm teaching students to do things correctly? And then have the conversation with your students. Set clear expectations about when, how, and why AI may or may not be used in your course. So again, I think we're all learning. I love the idea of sharing our ideas. We explored several tools. Again, I would this week try to take something you've learned, try to create a quiz, try to create a lesson plan, try to create something and iterate, see if you can refine and find something useful. Finally, I'll mention at Utah Tech, for those that are interested, and your students might be interested as well, we offer a bunch of computing certificates, and many of these can be completed online. But we have intro machine learning, we have other AI machine learning, data science, cybersecurity, and others that I would love to have you take a look at. And if you're interested, we could talk more about that. And I'll make sure that Jacob can send out a copy of these slides later if you want them.
Are those classes just for teachers, or are you saying that they could also be done by students too?
These could be done by either. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
These are
And they're
certificates that
all
our
online.
students take. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so students could that are 11th or 12th grade could take the class and get college credit that could also be added on to their high school diploma.
Yep. Yep. This would be college credit. This would be an academic certificate. And these would be transferable credits they could transfer anywhere in the US and or continue on at Utah Tech.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's my presentation today. I don't know if there's any additional questions that we would like to talk about.
Yeah, I think there's some additional questions, but we can address those after Dr. Ray's words of wisdom and as people are filling out the survey. Dr. Ray, if you're okay with that.
I will stop sharing here.
So, Dr. Ray, if you're ready to do the words of wisdom, I think we're
Sure,
ready.
there are two or three things that have been talked about today that kind of stand out to me. One was the question about differentiation and dealing with different levels of students, and I think that was discussed, and I think there can be more on that. Another, actually, Mariam Mohammed put a statement in there about use of AI, and she said something that I was going to say for the words of wisdom today. Uh, a teacher remains essential. And the quotation that I had read that I really have made an interest is one by actually Bill Gates, who we all know. He said technology is a tool in terms of getting kids information, getting to work together, and motivating them. Teacher is the most important. So let's not forget that. We can unhumanize a lot of things, But if we want to put the teacher in the role of making students feel important and helping them increase their learning, that's our goal.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Ray, and thank you everyone for attending. In the chat, we've posted the survey for the workshop, so please get in and do that right now. We will stay on probably for about another 10 minutes answering questions. And I did have some questions from the chat, but Ferris has beat us to that. We'd love to hear from him. And I know he's taught a lot of different classes on AI throughout throughout the world, really. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I'm glad you're able to be here with us.
Yeah, it was something very close to my heart, you know. So I love AI, and I must have been here today. I
Yeah.
couldn't have missed out on this wonderful workshop. Thank you very much to Dr. Joey Francom. I have actually two questions, and they're quite critical because, you know, doing those workshops, like Dr. Jacob said, across the globe, I came across some fascinating questions, and I was stunned myself. One of those questions was this. A few years ago, a Canadian scholar made a statement, and this statement went viral. She said that down the line in the future, they would be very hard to tell whether that is AI generated content or human generated content because it might be so mixed. And for us, even the AI detectors would struggle to tell who is who and what is what. So, and then she said maybe we would be less concerned about this mixture. So do you agree with her statement? And my second question is, um, hello, after all, we are putting the prompt into AI tools, and we might be in charge of what's coming out of AI, though that's the work of AI, but we're still inputting our share, our fair share. So do you think we can somehow claim ownership to AI generated content, whether that's a picture, a video, or music? Because I started recently generating a lot of tracks and I love them. Really. And
Are they
I
tracks that you're singing, Ferris? Do they take your
yes,
voice and you're singing?
I've been singing them all along. Oh, like I said, late night planning now feels like a breeze. Personalized dream shaped with ease, and it goes on. Like you can actually
Huh.
choose the category: pop, rock, rap, etc. So I hope my questions are clear. Thank you very much in advance.
I think those are great questions. You know, I'm thinking to myself, how do I know you're real right now and not an AI? You know, because that's a real thing. You've heard of people online now that are going to interviews and they're using like video generated avatars. You don't even know if they're real. So, again, I think you're right. I think that there's blurring, definitely a blurred line between real and AI generated content. Certainly, I see it in music. I've done music and some video, and wow, I mean, the results are. I can't tell the difference between the real and the AI generated stuff. Now, as we talk about like for teacher stuff, I don't know. Do I care if my lesson plan is real or AI generated? Maybe not particularly, as long as I've evaluated it and it has the correct stuff in it that I want to teach. That's my opinion. But then secondary, you talk about claiming ownership. I guess the courts are kind of evaluating that right now. Can we claim ownership of um, music that we generated that was trained on real musician data? And I don't know that they've come up with a good answer for that. But then I also think, if we go to an extreme, we're putting in all this information as well. We're putting in all our content. Are we kind of feeding the beast? Are we gonna, in 10 years, it's gonna, well, we have all the information we need. We don't need teachers anymore. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I don't know the answer to either one of those. That's a good question for reflection, though.
Thank
That's
you.
good. All right. Well, if you have any other questions, please raise your hand. In the meantime, just some other questions as we continue to fill out the survey. One question, Dr. Joe, is about Gemini certification. Do you recommend that for teachers?
Um, I'm not familiar with their specific certification, but I think that, Anthropic, for example, offers a curriculum, an online curriculum to learn more about how to use Anthropic. And again, it depends on what your motivation for getting a certification is for. If it's for, you know, going to get another job or something, I don't know if that's maybe, but if it's to have the credentials, to say that you understand something, that's great. I think it's up to each individual to decide, well, I have this certification. Is the trade-offs between time, money, and effort worth getting the certification? And I think that's kind of a personalized decision.
Yeah, and I think it probably is dependent upon what skill level people have with AI right now. And if
Yep.
they're skillful in it, it might not be so beneficial. If they're getting new to it, I think it would be really good for people to get in and really go through some kind of certification. Gemini's most common, probably around schools throughout the world because of Google's process in supporting schools. So very, very beneficial.
I think that, again, it's kind of going through like the workshop today. I assume that the Gemini certification will probably teach you a little bit about prompts and prompt engineering and how to use their AI. So anything, again, yeah, like Jake said, if you're unfamiliar or would like to learn more about how to interact with these AI engines, great. I think that's a perfect way to go.
Yeah, that's great. Another question is, what do you think about co-creating an AI policy with your students? And probably that's more specific with like high school students, so they can come up with that. And that's a fairest question too, which I thought was really, really good. It could be something that you come up together because students can understand what the capacity is for AI in a school setting and how could it affect learning too.
That's a great thing. I wouldn't mind experimenting with that, seeing what students think they should use AI for and what teachers should use AI for. I
Yeah,
think, hopefully none of us get into this, but I think I've seen some teachers where they work less because of AI. Now, I don't think we necessarily need to work less with AI. I think we need to work differently, but I don't think it should excuse us for, wasting time or any of that stuff.
good. Well, I think those were all the questions. We appreciate everyone coming in on their weekend, their time off to keep learning and growing. Please, if you have any questions for myself about accreditation, Array Global Services, or anything else, let me know. If you have questions for Dr. Joe, you're welcome to reach out to me and I'll make sure that you're in contact with him. If you're interested specifically about those courses that you could take as an educator or even have your students take to get college credit and continue in their development, please reach out and talk to us. It looks like Dr. Joe just put in the chat his email address, and I'm sure he'd be happy to work with any of you on those different areas. So thank you again, and have a great weekend.